Good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent. All right, I can hear everybody. We are still waiting. I see Bob Barton here from the applicant side. We are still waiting for two more to show up so that we have a quorum. Everybody said they were going to be here.
I had difficult. I'm having to use my phone. I don't know why, but my laptop was like, you have to update Zoom. So I was having a little difficulty joining. So I just grabbed my cell phone.
Excellent. All right, Peter is on. Um,
Morning,
and
Tim.
we got John and Bob from the applicant side.
Can you
Morning.
hear me, Tim?
Yes.
Jessica? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Waiting for one more on our end. And then we should be able to get started. Bill said he was going to be able to make it. And there's Justin. So we have four, which is adequate for a quorum here. And if we would like to start and just wait, or if we want to, I don't think we need to wait. I'm going to turn it over to Peter, who's the vice chair, and allow him to call the meeting to order.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
This is
morning.
Zoom meeting to review the design presentation for the North Maple Street project. And I think the board has already reviewed these documents last time. So if the applicant, can you tell us if there's been any changes on the design since then? And focus on that versus revisiting the entire design again?
Yeah, I can jump in, and John, our architect, can jump in too, but there hasn't been any changes from since when we presented in person. What was that, a couple weeks ago?
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, Peter, they had a big presentation that I believe only Tammy and myself were a part of. So it may be beneficial to go over what they changed from the previous submittal that you were part of. Is that
Were there any design issues discussed with just Justin and Tammy present at the last physical board meeting?
yeah, they changed their color palette. They showed us a different green. And I believe, and Tammy can correct me if I'm wrong, they changed some of the roof light. I would defer to Bob and John on that one, but they wanted, and Tim can correct me, they wanted to give the full presentation since they did travel all that way. And so Tammy and I saw that, but I don't think Hart and you saw that, Peter.
Correct.
It was different from the full quorum we had, I think, back in February. Is that right?
Right. That is correct.
I was able to review the packet that they submitted that for the meeting I didn't attend. And that packet, I actually thought the colors and materials looked good. So again, I would ask if there, just for efficiency's sake, if there's any changes from that last packet.
I haven't. I've not reviewed the last submittal. I only remember the last formal submittal at the board. I would like to see the site plan.
Okay.
I will. Let's.
And while we're pulling that up, I can just confirm there hasn't been any changes since, we submitted this packet.
No.
So from a site plan side, the major changes to the site plan were the addition, from when you previously saw it at the meeting where there was a quorum, was the addition of pickleball courts and the addition of a dock at the wet detention pond. All the other changes were really related to buildings, which I'll let John address.
Tim, there was a review comments and response slide in the deck and if we're looking at that, it might be around slide 39.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe one or two more beyond. I think there was something added.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So this is our review comments and responses to the preliminary, and this was presented at the final. And these were in general the comments that were made, and these are our responses. So there's number one is we responded to providing multiple building types with varying heights along North Maple. And you can see in the site plan that we have some three-story buildings, 1 4-story, and then two 2-story carriage houses marching along down to the amenity buildings on the corner. So we provided those as a variety of scale and expression of those buildings. Using a combination of building facade and roof articulations, along with a dark finish color, mostly at the top floors of these buildings, it helps reduce the visual impact. I did provide a material sample board at the last meeting, so I don't know if anybody had a chance to review that, but that does show the color palette for all buildings.
Actually, in the background.
Yeah, there it is.
Go ahead.
I
That's
appreciate you guys making those changes on Maple Street. I think the layout looks much better.
And that was the second comment. Make sure to bring material color samples, and that is physically in town hall. Clubhouse, we responded to lacking low country details. We revised the club building with adding some more low country detailing, including some ornamental brackets up in the soffit lines of the upper roof, and the copper entryway standing seam locations. We provided some exposed rafter ends at a few locations, and really brought the building complex together in a cohesive paint scheme. And we also lowered some brick masonry down to a water table level. And those I don't know which slide that's on, but that is in this final packet, the elevations of those buildings. Yes, yeah. So we went with again a more cohesive paint scheme using the Majolica green, and then the detailing you can kind of see in that front elevation, main entry, the exposed rafter ends at the standing seam metal roof location. And we do have some sunshade devices on those windows also. And then fourth comment for architecture was consider some variation in the color palettes. And then again, we introduced another shade of green to use alternatively between buildings on the site. And that's on the color palette as well. And that's edamame green. That's a little darker shade.
Yes, and I remember we recommended more edamame, less majolica.
Mhm. And Jessica, I suppose you could speak to 5 and 6 on this slide.
Thank you, John. So
Sure.
yes, comment number 5 was relative to the landscape plan. I believe it was just that these shrubs were called out incorrectly relative to the size of the planting, and that was modified. So that was the primary revision to the landscape plan, and again, modifying it to allow for the pickleball courts, which, let's see, if you go to our site plan, which if you keep scrolling down, I believe you'll end up in, yep, let's see. If you zoom into that plan, so the pickleball courts are located in that center island where he has put his cursor, or where his cursor was, where the parcel label is. It was the only area that was initially vacant for the parcel label. And so there's pickleball courts there. And then again, the deck that will be on the detention pond that may shift dependent on where the emergency spillway is, because that would be the ideal location. And then we did provide a photometric plan, which is located after these plans. You can see that in terms of revisions from the site plan from the previous, that again, those only revisions are the addition of the pickleball courts and the dock. And at this point, all we're doing is taking what we have and refining it more, just doing more detailed grading, more detailed detention design, etc., just locking in numbers at this point. So if you keep scrolling down after the civil plans, there should be a photometric plan after that point. Keep going. Those are still, let's see, go up. I think, nope, up. It was right before, up there, that one. I believe that is the photometric plan. Nope, that's the tree. Go up one more. It's one of those at the end. Let's see. That's your, yep, that is the landscape. Yep, it's not seeming to scale very well, but that is the photometric plan. Those two drawings show the photometric plan. It will be very similar to this, as you see now, other than, you know, having it prepared by the local electric provider. But this will pretty much mimics what will be on site. For the only thing that was not shown on these plans that was mentioned at the meeting was any kind of sconces or similar lights that will be on the exterior of the building at the entry points, just to light that particular entry point, but all other site lighting is shown on this lighting plan.
Jessica, real quick, we did receive a call from a concerned citizen who is over in this general vicinity. I know it's difficult on this plan, on this display, but your site lighting, you're meeting the requirements to that you're not spilling over and into other the adjacent properties with your light, correct?
Correct. And I think if you scroll back down to the plan that it wasn't before, if you, that's kind of the tree plan. So scroll down, let's see, that, I believe it was this slide. If you zoom in, you can see that even beyond the lighting, that other than the red trees in that zone, so those circles all represent the trees based on their diameters and their the condition of the trees. And so most of the trees within that zone are slated to remain along the strip within the green hatching along that property line, other than those that are a safety hazard, which are those designated as red trees. And so even beyond the lighting, that tree natural buffer should provide additional buffer, both visually from the buildings as well as lighting from the side if you're looking towards the site, but there should not be bleed from the lights outside of
Excellent.
the property limits.
And what do you
Zero
think,
foot candles at the property line?
I believe that is what it was designed at. If you look back at the plan before and you zoom in, you'll see numbering wise that it should be that at the property line. I didn't personally design it, but that was the intent when the design was provided to the electrical contractor.
And could you say what the distance from the property line to this building might be?
So I believe from the property line to that building, yes, if you give me just 2 minutes, I'll be able to tell you the exact measurement rather than give you a guesstimate based on looking at the scale, but just 1 moment.
Thank you.
Is there a physical fence separating your property from the adjacent property owners? Or is it just the landscape buffer?
Just the landscape buffer right now.
That's correct.
And there's a ditch there too.
And with the requirements for the stream buffer, they would not be able to encroach into that with fencing and other things along those lines. So structures and whatnot have to maintain at least 50 feet from the top of bank.
So yes, if you look at that, red hatching is an area where no grading and no impervious can take place. If you see the red hatching on both sides of the wetland. And then the green hatching is grading can take place, but no impervious can take place. And the only place where that varies is just crossing the wetland to get to the nature trail. And so outside of that, we have no impervious in the green area or red area adjacent to the wetlands.
Is there a bubbler or fountain in the wet detention pond to keep circulation and algae growth down?
It's not depicted on this plan, but we have discussed adding an aeration unit in order to provide better water quality, more aesthetics, and to keep the growth of algae down. All of those have been discussed in terms of adding. And so likely there will end up being an aeration unit center pond.
Do you have that dimension yet, Jessica?
I'm sorry, it's taking a moment since I'm remoted in from home. I apologize. It's almost up and not quite up yet. It just came up. Okay, let it finish loading. So I know that we're at 25 for the first, 25 for the second. I see it on my screen. 1 moment. I'm sorry. It's going to let me scroll in a minute on my AutoCAD file so I can give you an exact dimension. It's a pretty large file at this point. Okay. Now I can scroll. Okay, so along that back property line, all of the 4 stories are pretty much sitting the same dimension with the exception of the one that is sitting skewed. So I will give you the 2 that are sitting parallel, and then I will give you worst case scenario for the one that's not sitting parallel. So from the rear property line, we're looking at 91 feet to the closest point on the 4-story building. And from the skewed building to the property line, we are looking at 68.8 feet, so 69 feet.
Great, thank you.
And that 69 feet is only next to lot 244 on the plan. Everyone else would see more of that 91-foot measurement.
But they have good quality trees here on their property line that would help some screening.
Yes. And that's one of the benefits of the site being relatively flat and not going to have significant grade change, is that works in our favor as well, that we're not going to be sitting, 10 feet, 20 feet higher that I see a lot on a lot of our projects. So that will be beneficial as well.
Are there any more questions or comments from the board? I see head shaking. So can you just go to the amenity building, main elevation, Tim? I just have a simple comment. My simple comment is the brick opaque wall at the mailroom. Is there any way you can soften that?
Soften mean by reduce or?
Reduce,
Yeah.
add some more windows or,
Well, yeah, there's primarily the way it's shown now is we used brick and we if you could see there's some relief in the brick to make it look like a window element. The issue behind that wall is the mailboxes that are wall mounted up to about 6 feet or so, maybe 5.5 feet, and it's a blank wall. So to have any opportunity for fenestration in that wall with windows is very limited because of the mailboxes on the other side of that wall. The brick can certainly be taken down to a water table level, like it is on the right side of the entry, and the reason we did it in brick is to articulate again that kind of look of a window. But it can be brought down, and then we could use lap siding.
What about, I assume there's going to be some sort of foundation plantings. Is there something more vertical that could go along that wall? I'm with Peter. A blank wall. I see the detail and it's great, but a big blank wall kind of looks odd, and I'm sure there's foundation plantings. I just didn't know if that was true or not.
Jessica, I don't know if you're showing any landscape in that area, but it certainly can. We can use a taller variety
So
or
let's
some kind of
see.
planning. Yeah.
Right, so if you keep scrolling, let's see. So you can see the landscaping in the lower left that's been proposed at the corner of that building. And there's more green space that we could add, even more landscaping if so desired in that area, because there's plenty of green space to allow for it rather than grass, if you so desire.
And what are those? I don't see the key. I'm sorry. The PLOLs, is that right?
PLOL. Give me one moment. Let's see, the key is on one of the other drawings. Let me bring up the landscape on my end.
Always, right?
I think you got there quicker than I did with your speed being from the office versus from home. So let's
So English laurels.
PLOL is the English laurel.
you know how high those will grow?
Not personally, but give me just one moment and I will have an answer for you.
It
Tree
says
tree.
up to 40 feet tall, but that could be on the variety.
Maybe to
So-
make it simple, we could just add a tree in front of there.
So it looks like you did make effort to soften that masonry wall, which I think is good.
So yeah, an unpruned one can get up to 40 feet, but typically they're set at 10 to 12 feet tall,
Okay,
typically
perfect.
with pruning.
Perfect.
I think that's good. And then I just had a minor architectural suggestion. This is just a suggestion. So if you look at the main elevation of the amenity building again, you have a lot of gables, which I love. And I just wondering if you considered, because you did add brackets along the slope side, if you considered adding a gable under the, I mean, a bracket under the gable end. And I actually have a picture if I can show you real quick. And again, this is just a suggestion. So can.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
I think that just adds more low country flavor,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll leave
Yeah.
that up to you and the designers and what you're trying to create overall impression.
That's a nice detail. And you were seeing that more at the entry gable or at others as well? That kind of detail.
I think wherever you have brackets
Mm-hmm.
along the slope ends,
Right. Okay.
We can add that. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
we'll just plan to add that.
Yes.
It's very attractive.
Good suggestion.
any further comments from the board and then any comments or questions from the applicant?
None here.
I think we're okay on our end.
All right, I guess we're ready to vote.
Make a motion to approve with comments.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against say no. Okay, the motion is approved. Very
Thank you.
good.
Thank you, everyone.
Great job.
Appreciate
Thank you.
hopping on Zoom.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you all for getting on. I appreciate that. At this point, unless somebody has something else, Peter, you can adjourn, or we can ask for a motion for that.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those
All right.
in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
everyone.